Hello, good morning. Uh, Hi, this is Ashok from Unitaya. I have seen many registrants already logged into the session, so it's already 11 o'clock, and we're going to start the session in about a minute. And just to ensure, before I begin, let me just tell you this is a kickoff webinar that we have organized in partnership with Frost and Sullivan. And since there are participants across India, faculties from different colleges have registered for this webinar. So in the interest of delivering a perfect quality of audio and streaming session, so we have, by default, all the audio is muted from the listener side. But just to ensure that you guys are able to listen to this, I'm just gonna check with a couple of people who I'm seeing from the registrant list. So if they're able to hear me, I would request them to just say hi. Mr. Kamraj, Dr. Kamraj, are you able to hear me? Inayat? Good. Oh yes, Inayat, are you able to hear me? Hello? Just all right. Okay. Priyesh, are you able to hear me? So we're going to begin the session. But before I begin, let me first give you a quick introduction to Unitaya and about this webinar that we have conducting today. Now, this incubator of University of Madras, and we are basically an Uber service for internationalization offices within colleges in India. Now, imagine us as a Uber service, and we would be the business is set with the aim to connect colleges across the globe under one roof in Unitaya. And what we do and how we do it is, so this is the Unitieps model. So globally, with our experts, we have more than over 50 plus international universities who are in partnership with Unitiep. And these universities are under Unitiep's roof. They conduct one. Uh, I'm sorry, there is a lot of background noise from the audience side. Could you please minimize that around you? Okay, thank you. Now, just to continue, so UniTIA ensures and facilitates knowledge transfer between universities across the globe. And this is with this objective we have started our edtech business. And just a quick summary, this session is not about in brief of what UniTIUP does, just a quick summary. So UniTIUP encourages member partnerships between the universities in India, and this is an absolute free membership service. Now, what we intend to do for the members is conduct international faculty development programs, conduct live stream classroom sessions from a faculty abroad to our colleges in India. We have planned to do online certification programs and bring in industry, connect people to the faculties and colleges, just like the program we are doing now. We also have plans to, as a service, we also do a lot of growth workshops for faculties and students direct into the college. On top of it, UniTIUP will conduct its flagship event every year, and there will be a complimentary invite for all the faculty members who are all a member to the UniTIUP. And the potential synergies between between universities. So members of UniTIUP encourages, this is not an immediate service available, but this is a future service what we aim to establish shortly in the next year. So many universities in size, small or medium, have a challenge in conducting international faculty exchange programs and student exchange programs. But these problems could be solved or attended through UniTIUP solution, because through our partnership universities, we help our colleges locally here to send their faculties or students on a semester abroad program or on an exchange program. So the details of this services could be shared with you on an email or on a phone after this session. But without further ado, I would like to speak about the speaker of this session, Mr. Mani James. Mani James is the Senior Vice President of Frost & Sullivan, and I have the pleasure of working with Mani James for more than 3 years. So when we began UniTIUP, we started off with primary objective of delivering the best of the knowledge to our members. And speaking of the best, there couldn't be anyone who I couldn't think of to kick off our first session other than Mr. Mani James. Mani James is a global citizen under Frost & Sullivan. He has wear a lot of hats in maintaining businesses in Africa, Europe regions, and in North America, and particularly in Middle East as well. He has worked up with a lot of government public sector projects in central as well as state. Mani has recently worked with the Tamil Nadu Water Board of Tamil Nadu, and also very recently, couple of weeks back, Mani was key instrumental in making the Frost & Sullivan Awards program for Tamil Nadu, where he and his boss personally awarded Tamil Nadu for his excellence in the economic development within India. So Mani is in this session, what I requested Mani to do was share his experience from the public, from his public sector views. Mani has worked with various projects with countries where he has analyzed trends in terms of innovation, economic trajectory, and kind of acted as a growth consultant in advising to promote their innovation ecosystem. And Mani is a strong advocate for upbringing of educational systems, be it anywhere. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over the session to the speaker, Mani James. And Mani, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Ashok. I hope you can hear me. So I think as what Ashok introduced, so just on a brief context of why we actually are having this discussion is because in the Frost and Sullivan scheme of things, we are a global strategy consulting and research firm. So we are a 58-year-old company, and we have quite a lot of wide presence. And part of what we do is that we identify future trends, we identify growth opportunities that the business and the governments can tap into around the world. So what we do for a basic structure is that we understand how the different technologies, the different trends, the different markets, how does this all interplay, and where does those growth opportunities come into the picture. What do we do? Obviously, I said to you, we help companies, we help organizations grow their business, right? So if you look at the left, we have the industry research, which is the different industries that we cover. And adding to that, to the middle is the emerging technologies, which we have close to 2,000 plus technologies that we cover around the world. But I've just kind of given you a bit of clusters of what we have. And added to that will be the mega trends, which is what are the future trends that will shape these industries. So I'll take you through the session where it's basically I've split that into three. What I want to do is basically introduce the session, kind of give you a bit of an overview as to what are the top mega trends that are disrupting the business. So kind of give you a view. Say if you are a faculty, if you are a administrative person from an university, what I'm trying to paint the picture I'm here is saying, look, there are major trends, disruptive technologies that are going to come into effect, which may or may not something that we actually anticipate for. It's going to happen for sure, and it's going to happen for real. And what as a faculty member, what as an university, what are you going to do to prepare yourself and prepare the students for the future? So it's quite a very closer to home. There are major companies that you will see on the right, and the companies that are on the left, which what we call in Frost and Sullivan is called a Kodak moment. What is a Kodak moment? Many years ago, Kodak invented the digital imaging technology, and what they did was they were about to make it commercialized, and one of the CEO said he doesn't believe that this is going to be a technology that is going to impact this industry in the future. So guess what happened? Sooner or later, the digital technology of imaging technology was developed, and they went bankrupt. So the companies that are on the right that you can see are the companies that are getting disrupted because they didn't see some of the technologies, some of the new business model changes, what are actually going to affect them. Some of the future trends, for example, Walmart was pretty late to getting into the game of online, whereas Amazon said this is the only game that we're actually going to play. Jet Airways didn't see the business model of the low cost option of what Indigo is offering at the moment. BSNL, because of obviously they have got historical challenges, but at the same time, Geo went in with a very different business approach to technology, which is on a data-driven model. So this has an implication on the business. So when the technologies and when the business models change, the business of skills, the business of jobs that you will provide will change along with that. So just for example, I want to just give you a brief idea of what we expect in Frost & Sullivan or some of the job roles that will appear in 2030 around the world. Well, you might say this is very far-fetched. It's got nothing to do with India at the moment. I agree. But if you look at that, some of those jobs are quite innovative. I don't think it even exists in any context right now. People will start to create organs. Okay, you're going to be an organ creator. You're going to be an augmented reality journey builder, and the biofilm installer. These are the top 3 job roles that we see coming up by 2030. And you can see the rest of the other jobs that I've kind of makes it very interesting, where you have people like a digital currency advisor. So you might say, what has it got to do with what we are doing right now? But if you look at the fintech scheme of things in the world, it's all moving towards cryptocurrency, right? So you got to be in how are you actually going to handle digital currency. more and more companies are actually looking at that as an option right now. With the advent of technology on drones, we'll get to see most of the cities, urban mobility taking up drones as a traffic medium. What does that mean? You need a drone traffic optimizer. Okay, so another interesting job role that I believe will have a deep impact is the human machine teaming manager, which means that more and more machines will start interacting with humans. But at that same time, you would need to actually have a person who actually know how to actually humans interact with machines. So the interface is going to be more, I would say, prolonged in the future. And you will also have jobs like trash engineers. I mean, you say, oh, garbage, oh, it's a waste, but it's not actually going to be treated like that, because you need to have a garbage designer for the future. So closer to home, from a 2020 aspect of what we see here in India at the moment, most of these jobs that are the top 10 or top 12 jobs that are emerging right now have got to do with more on the technology side of things, which is quite obvious in terms of a blockchain developer, maybe an AI specialist, a JavaScript developer. But you will actually start to see that the tinge of technology that's playing around the robotic process automation consultants. You need to have a growth manager. You have a full stack engineer, robotics engineer, which is on a software side. But the impact of technology is felt on all of these job roles. I'm not suggesting here that the computer science or those faculty are the only people that are going to be looking at these, but these actually have implications on many other industries too. For example, there's implications on the automobile sector. So blockchain by itself is not going to do anything to the ICT industry per se. It has got implications on healthcare. It has got implications on manufacturing, on automotive, on energy, on waste, on water. I mean, you name any other industry, all of these will actually be used. So it's actually keeping with the end in mind as to saying, why do you need a robotic process automation? Because that is not exclusively confined only to the ICT industry anymore. So if you see what I've kind of given you an overall picture, just to set the context, saying there are companies, there are industries that are getting collapsed right now. In front of us, we are seeing it. There are new job roles that are coming out, and as a result, you need new skills to get into play. So if you have recently read or followed Nandan Nilenkani's interview to the Wall Street Journal, this is what he was saying, right? So we were dependent on manufacturing. Manufacturing-led growth was what the economic model that has been going on for quite some time in our lives. But that model is about to change. Globalization itself has become a threat. The education sector needs to evolve because in a way that it's going to adapt to these changes. So the jobs that we existed in the past, it's no guarantee that these jobs are going to exist in the future. And you will see that any economic slowdown, some of those jobs that go are pretty mundane jobs that will be automated. So what can be automated will be automated. And that is pretty much the name of the industry. As Ashok mentioned earlier on, I work a lot, advise on governments. I work with CEOs, with big corporates. And this is pretty much as the standard story I hear everywhere. We need students, we need people who actually can visualize this kind of a future where this is going to be very, very relevant for their industry. Just to see this, I mentioned earlier on about these two companies, Walmart and Amazon, and you will see that the big difference is not on the growth rates only, because you get Walmart is growing at a 2.8%, whereas a company like Amazon is growing at 27%. But you also see there's a very important aspect of a market cap, which has been increasing for Amazon, is not just as a result of what there's a profit margin is very low, but you'll see the number of patents they have filed. Walmart just filed about 558 patents as opposed to Amazon, which actually focused on technology, and as a result, why they focus so much on these patents. And we may want it, we may not like it, we may call it in different names, but I think the digital transformation or the industry 4.0, that is truly and rightfully here. And you will see more and more examples of how this is taking place around the world. Even back in India, we have got loads of examples how banks have started to adopt industry 4.0. There's loads of IoT examples that I can give. So the industry 4.0 by itself is, what is it going to do is that the traditional industries now will start cut by so many different areas, which is what I call as a death by 1,000 cuts. Because now you need to understand that because of a tradition, let's say take a traditional example or a traditional industry like the logistics sector, which didn't have many such players in the past, is now changing a lot. So you see that there is right from demand up until the delivery of freight. There are so many different ways that they have started to cut it, and many companies are bringing new technologies and new business models into this, and that's why this is what has been in industry traditionally has never changed. Now is just going through a massive transformation. So what does that mean? I mean, from a education standpoint, what you got to understand here is when the students come out of college, when they are getting into this market, they actually are going to be in industries that are not going to just demand, I'm going to grow at 5%, I'm going to grow at 10%. So if I walked up to my CEO and told him, hey, we actually having a big business plan and we're planning to grow by 10%, and probably he will say, look, you can find another job. I'm not here to talk 5%, 10%. I'm going to talk about 35, 40% growth. So this by itself is the biggest challenge that shareholders are putting out, where you have to understand that there is a major challenge that they face. So what have we done in Frost & Sullivan? We've looked at saying, look, there are disruptive technologies, which you can see on the outer shell. These are the big clusters of technologies that we cover. And in the middle, we have got new megatrends and business models, which kind of says, look, what are those big future trends that are going to shape those industries? And then if you put in the industries in the middle, and if you actually play around with this kaleidoscope, you'll actually see that because of the convergence of technology, because of the different megatrends and the business models, at times new companies, new industries, new sectors will start to emerge. So Vincent, a point.
Mani, I just want to quickly make a stop there. There are a couple of questions that people have raised through our chat box. Now, first is one of the professor I raised. Could you also talk about the networking opportunity that this emerging trends would be? So people who are in the networking jobs, what kind of job changes will happen in that area? Mm-hmm. One, could you also talk about blockchain as the biggest disruption that you have mentioned? And this is a personal question from my end. So recently, Tamil Nadu government has started to explore more on the blockchain technology by the Chief Secretary, Mr. Santosh Babu. Now they are investing a lot on blockchain technology. Second, third, could you also, I think you are the right person to answer to this question. Could you also talk about the economic change of India going towards the GIC market rather than the outsourcing market? So
when you say GIC, can you clarify?
Innovation market, global innovation. So India wants to project itself as a global innovation center rather than a cheap labor market. So we are no longer a cheap labor market. We wanted to be innovative because 15 years back, I think one of the challenges we failed to address is that 15 years back, .NET was a hot selling technology, but that is not the case today. It is almost gone close to the extinction, right? Now, the most pertinent question to ask here is like, how do colleges can adapt to the change in trend of India being the global innovation market?
Should I answer this question right now, or can I finish and just?
Yeah, I mean, there's just the questions that are
some of them will get addressed while I speak.
Okay.
But just on that point of what you said here in the blockchain aspect of just that, the last question probably I'll answer that because it actually has got a lot of implications on what we're doing at the beginning. So the see, the India was traditionally, we were a service-driven market, right? So I witnessed this because I've stayed outside India for long to actually see this. So when we say we want to export services, predominantly we were only exporting lines, right? When we didn't have any product mentality that we actually want to build a product in India for the Indian market. So no homegrown technology was developed. So as a result of what has happened here is now we actually have become a net importer of technology. So we don't have any technology of our own, right? So this is another major challenge that we actually going to face in the short term, because obviously when you use a technology, there's royalty, you got to pay for whatever technology you're going to use, the patent rights that you got to get out of them. So I mean, you'll see some of the acquisitions that are happening around the world right now actually got nothing to do with business. They're actually going after patents that companies own. So they want to say, look, how will this change the game for us? So as I explained in the previous slide, that's why Amazon is going after robotics. Absolutely. They're going after automation, and they're just filing patents left, right, and center, and they're acquiring companies left, right, and center. You'll see that in every spectrum of what Amazon operates, they actually are in there everywhere. There's not a single piece of the value chain they have left out.
Would you at this case, having said this, would you say colleges must aggressively start promoting innovation with students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts a little bit more, in my view, a little bit early. If it starts even in K-12 plus, I mean, where you need to have a knack for understanding what are some of those big technologies that are, or big important ones that are going to go on. So we are not too late yet, but I think I would say more and more look at saying, look, where does this industry headed to? I mean, all our colleges are preparing students for some kind of industries. And you will see that, example, Cognizant and TCS recently said we are laying off close to 40,000 middle to senior to middle level managers because we don't see them contributing anymore. Rather, we actually will hire freshers who are actually having these kind of skills, right? So they want to go after people who actually have robotic skills, automation skills, who actually are, like, say, full stack developers, blockchain focused people, because that's what those companies that are recruiting for India, they're not recruiting for the Indian market, mind you. They're only recruiting, mostly it's done on a global scale. The services are rendered to somebody else globally. And those markets are changing big time. For example, if you go into Tesla, argument's sake, you don't actually there is no showroom. Tesla doesn't have a showroom. You only do everything online. So you choose your car color, what kind of engine you want, what torques, everything is built online. You don't just get to film. Audi is moving that route. Most of the global companies but for that, you need a full-blown technology backed up. So that's why all of these jobs that are now coming up, they are saying, look, you need to have these new skills. I don't want some people, as you rightly said, I don't want people who knows .NET anymore. It doesn't make any sense because that is not the future for us. So maybe like cover this, I'll cover a couple of other questions, but these are... this is actually a classic question which relates to whatever I'm going to tell right now, because every company now sees themselves as a technology company. Good. You look at any organization right now. Somebody says, you know what, 10 years ago, you go to any company and say, look, we're actually having a chief innovation officer, chief technology officer. I think people might have actually laughed at you. They didn't really see this as a big, because innovation was something that was happening in some remote university, in some lab. Some company will do it, and they'll bring some products out, and they'll slowly get into the market. The time from the technology that you or anything that you create up until it becomes commercialization, it took almost 10 to 15 years. Now companies are coming to products to market in less than 4 months. You just hit that, and you actually are ready to hit a market with them. So it's so quick, and so every company, looking at just this is a totally unrelated industry, like a banking industry. Fintech is now we have got so many different people looking at this and saying, look, how does all these technologies, what has it got to do with my go do the fintech industry? Because all of them actually are going after and filing patents. They looking at how does this get in the future. So for example, you might see cryptocurrency and blockchain is so low with all these ones, but you'll see the number of patents on IoT, the number of patents on data and analytics. I mean, it's astounding. You have a big competition going on between Visa and American Express just to know what are those future technologies that are going to emerge. So at Frost & Sullivan, we have a kind of key focus on what are those big technologies that will be in the play in the next 50 years. So we're not just talking only for now, because that's what is now the different labs. There are different companies, universities, academics, that what some of the ones which Ashok mentioned earlier on. These are the ones that are actually currently being taken up right now. So you talk about anything that's got related to do with that in the future. I mean, you get ICT, you look at, we talked about big data, right? Now it's becoming small data. People want to know actually how do we localize that data and move on. So all of this has got big implications of what we do. And if you look at, as you asked earlier on, Ashok, there are so many different technologies in this digital transformation. If I have to pick and choose 5 or 6 of them, probably this will be it for now. One will be blockchain for sure. Another one is AI. Then you have autonomous robots. I think somebody asked about the robotic question.
Yes. Mani, sorry, this is your doing. While promoting the webinar, I threw a question to the audience, which you frequently tell. When there is a good chance the future doctors are going to be engineers.
Absolutely.
There are the chat box is spamming with that question. I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I think you have to address that.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, why do you say that? How do you justify that?
Okay, this is, I mean, for us, it's in India at this point of time, it might look a bit alienated theory. In a very remote, interesting country called Estonia, which I think is a nondescript country for many people, they actually have got robot doctors. Okay, so what do they do is all their surgery, invasive surgery, actually happens it's done by robot. In an engineer who's actually a robotic engineer with an assistance of a doctor who's only just there only for probably the 20% of the whole process. The engineer actually does the operation. He controls the robot actually controls and it performs the surgery. So it's like, if you look at that, you turn around and ask this question, say like, why is not a doctor doing this? Because the robot is pretty much programmed to do everything. You don't need a doctor to actually do this for the future. So more and more companies, more and more countries are looking at this as an option. Say, how do we reduce healthcare costs? But mind you, these are all economics at play. I can't now produce so many doctors. Okay, so be it. I'm going to produce many engineers who actually can become these robot doctors for me. So that, I think, is the essence of the whole process of where regulations and policies are being enrolled in US and UK, Babylonia. Those are papers that you have never heard of. They are now bringing this into mainstream technology. And this is a mainstream business. It will become in the next 5 years, in my view.
Mani, but in your experience, in your travel experience, have you seen any country or institution training their students, or has any colleges training students or creating resources for this future requirement?
Yeah, there are the Scandinavian countries are already doing it. I'm not mistaken, Estonia, Slovenia, all these Scandinavian, Eastern European countries, they are actually already starting to do this.
They have developed courses. They are preparing engineers to be doctors. But with that said, just a request to the faculty audience out there, we are very happy to take questions. But at the same time, we also have a lot of interesting content that we need to finish up in another 20 minutes in the best interest of your time. So we're just going to park the questions aside, and Mani promised 10-15 minutes dedicatedly for questions in the last session. I'm going to let Mani continue the rest of the session.
I'll run through this pretty quickly because the crux of this is that if you look at the big data markets, from a standpoint of the in 2025 context, what we had about 1.2 zettabytes in 2010, we would have actually consumed 100 times of that in the next 5 years. So there is a huge market for big data. You look at AI and you look at the number of patents that are getting filed at the moment. This is probably the next big game that people are trying to play. And you actually can see why companies like Amazon, companies like Microsoft, and Google and Intel are leading the pack in terms of figuring out where these new age AI patents will take them. And the next one is why is everybody so, not I will say paranoid, but every company and every country is looking to roll out 5G, is because now you could see the bandwidth and the time. So we used to have a time when we had 3G, we had 20 Mbps, which was just for the data. And then 4G started to roll out and we said, look, let's do a little bit of video streaming, which went to 200 Mbps. 5G, I mean, I don't know if there are many students listening into this conversation, but before your lecturer enters into the hall, you could actually download a movie if you want. That's going to be that speed in which that actually is going to. So there are going to be 7 trillion M2M wireless connections in the near future. So because of that, it opens up a very different perspective to the industry itself, which will say now I want my services to be delivered at home. I want the services to be delivered anywhere I want because of the ability that these platforms and architecture bring. So even from a healthcare standpoint, just the continuous monitoring market, which is just an 5G enabled output in healthcare, that is going to be close to 1.1 trillion market. And across the world, this is being trialed by 5G. So this is a very interesting slide as far as the rise of automation is concerned. I think there was a time when we were talking about in 2011, it was almost saying, look, I'll do a feet off thing because I want to take an automatic car. Then it went to saying, look, I want to be more, in 2016, it was more of hands off. We were trying an autonomous. I think current levels, we are talking about almost fully autonomous. And by 2030, you are actually going to be doing a brain off, very soon, saying you get into the Chennai airport and you just tell the car, take me to Anna University, and you just sleep. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. The car will take it for you. I'm not saying this is going to be a technology that's going to roll it in the next 10 years, but neither 25, 30 years, probably we are going to get there. Many advanced economies are actually already there almost. So I talked about the overall first layer of technology. I've given you a glimpse of that, how that's actually disrupting the industries. Next is the megatrends of the business model. So these are about 12 megatrends or future trends that we cover in Frost & Sullivan, which has a profound impact on what we'll be doing in the future. So if you look at just this one slide should give you a little bit of an alarm bell to saying, look, we've got these trends that actually can affect a total of 164 such subsectors. So loads of these are primed for, I would say, primed for disruption. And if you just take a step back and think about it and saying, look, how are we preparing our students for this ever-changing business and future is probably the most fundamental question probably you have to ask in terms of how we are going to prepare them for the future. So all of these mega implications have got nothing to do with just technology alone, but it's driven by economics. Okay, so why does everybody run into Chennai or go into Mumbai? It's because now the urbanization is becoming a massive context. Now, I know countries and economies are trying to push people into tier 2 cities, but that doesn't take away anything from what the implications will be. And you will see that the business model innovations that people talk about, a lot of people think, oh, I need to spend so much of my time on product. I need to actually get my product performance right. I need to get my product system right. But the amount of people that have put in the effort on innovation on product over the years, it has just got the reverse effect. But you see, the value that was created was actually on strategy. It was on actually figuring out what we need to do. There is no big value addition that they've been able to do on product process and strategy. And if you look at the next big, if you ask me what will be the big buzzword in the next future, it's the customer experience. More and more companies are now trying to figure out how do we actually improve the customer experience. So if a customer is walking into my business, how do I give that experience that they want to stay forever with us? I mean, I like what UniTieUp is trying to do in here in terms of providing. He said it's a Uber for universities. Like exactly what the kind of experience that universities are looking around the world. Students and faculty and administrators are looking for it right now. So customer experience, in my view, will be a major business model innovation going forward. And I think the point of what I was trying to say earlier on is now, before it was just like everybody was trying to sell you products now. So if you take in India, what happened in this automotive industry slow down, this crash that happened right now, more and more companies are starting to come out with service models. So Mahindra announced a model with saying, look, you don't have to buy my car, just pay a subscription fee, monthly fee, and you're done. You don't own anything on that car. So you drive this for so many kilometers. We have this agreement. You finish that agreement. You put in the car back into us. You like to upgrade to another model, we will take it, and you go on with another model. So everything is becoming a service. iPhone has become a service. This is a model that has been practiced in the Western world. With the mobile challenges, with the data challenges that we have at the moment, price is going to go up. I believe more and more companies will start offering this as a service. Amazon Prime, which actually came into India many years ago, they just took the markets by storm by saying, look, just pay pay 1,000 rupees per year, and you have everything as a Prime user. You actually get a beautiful offer, a very seamless offer. Not many people actually saw that, but now Amazon is probably the market leader because of that. So the effects of this business model has also had the biggest challenge. It's created some unbelievable companies. For example, Airbnb, which is supposed to be the biggest hotel chain in the world, is no more it doesn't actually own any single hotel, but they are the largest hotel chain in the world. Uber doesn't own a single car, but they are the biggest rental company in the world. So these implications, what we're talking about when you think about the curriculum or the syllabus that we roll out, is for us to exactly think around and saying, look, when they go in there, although this might sound on business strategy and management, but it's got actually the areas that has implications for what we're going to teach the students, what we actually going to get the faculty equipped with, because that is more relevant, because that is what is going to be required when they go into this job market. So the other trends that I will probably quickly skip right now is more and more people are going to go online. It's not going to be just the traditional method that you go. Where we excuse me, where we have I talked about customer experience, which actually is saying, look, how do you actually make my coffee buying experience more personalized? Okay, you can actually print your name on any coffee. They'll take a snap of yours, and they can actually take a Starbucks coffee with your face on it. So there are loads of technology. I didn't have a lot of time today to talk to you, but these are some of those trends that are going to be very, very pertinent in the future. I mean, as Ashok mentioned, I work a lot with various governments, and I'm current now We are actually working on a 3D project, 3D printing project in Dubai. And actually, we actually sit and have those meetings in the 3D printed houses. Okay, so this is not something in the distant future. You think, oh, this is going to be very future. This is already near. Circular economy. If we don't reuse, if we don't recycle, this is not something that we have. We'll never create a sustainable future for us. So some will be driven by new innovations. Some will be driven by pure economic compulsions that you and I cannot escape from. And I think there's something that you need to be totally aware of. So some of those ones I talked about today, but in the interest of time, some interesting ones that that is already getting into place is mind reading machines. So I was in a lab recently in London where they actually really showed us how the mind reading machines are actually getting developed in one of those universities. Unfortunately, I can't reveal them, but it's there. It's scary that they can actually understand what your mind actually thinks. So all of these technologies, all of these business models have implications for any education. And I think this is the crux of what I see right now. So when I chatted with the Unitype founders and had this discussion around what they want me to speak about, for me, and what I heard I'm hearing from the different industry players, is that we need students who actually are able to visualize this aspect of when they come out. They need to know, okay, how are these trends going to change the way that I'm going to do a certain project these days now? For example, if you say we need to have more academic industry collaboration, you need to have hacks wherein you sit with the industry and actually produce solutions for those problems that the industry is facing. This is being done by government support or with just purely by the industry academia collaboration. But mind you, when new industries and when new models need to be implemented, you always need a government support. So just a broad idea of how you can do it is, if you look at the saying, okay, what are the big trends that we see from an education standpoint? Okay, now we're teaching students computer science, we're teaching them specific subjects. Okay, now when they're going to go into a specific industry, if they're going to, let's say, going into software development, how is software development going to change? So there will be many sub-trends that you will find, and that will have a big impact on the industry which they're going to go into. You can clearly visualize where will be the future that they will change and will give us the unmet needs and opportunities. So that's so these are my contact details, but you can definitely connect with Ashok and Unitype team on this further. But for me, if I want to quickly summarize what we just spoke about now. So just to summarize what I just told you is that this we got to understand what are some of those big technologies that are going to impact the areas that we will produce students for. I mean, in an industry that is probably in India, but now the restriction is it's not restricted only to India alone. More and more global companies, global countries are actually looking for students that have actually got this kind of I would say, an outlook that they are able to understand and visualize those future technologies. And we talked about how companies are visually seeing themselves as technology-driven companies. What are the different mega trends that are driving the change? What are the different business models that are disrupting the way that we do business? And what are some of the industries that are likely to undergo big disruptions? So some of those job roles, some of the skills that you require in the future will not be the skills that you just get out of college and say, okay, I'll get myself trained somewhere. Because I think that is what doesn't exist anymore. It's probably getting created. More and more organizations are trying to incubate what skills are required in the colleges already. So you will see that this is a a pattern going to go in the future. So you don't want to be sitting in here and thinking, okay, I will produce, or the students that will come out are going to be ready for a certain type of industry. We need to be actually able to have students who are able to adapt and be ready for this massively changing and ever-changing future scenario. Thank you for the moment, and I'll take the questions now.
Thanks, Mani. This was really insightful and exciting information, although I must say. So I'm just going to read quite a bunch of questions I have gathered here. So first, this is an interesting one. Give some of the applications which are going on IIoT, cyber physical system applications particularly. So industrial Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the applications end of industrial Internet of Things.
Right. Okay. What else? Other questions?
And another faculty member asked, could you please brief more on AI and what would be the role of AI in the new innovations? And there's one more, and right up to your arena. What are the advanced technology will come under the field of chemical engineering? Because you have started from CMF, I presume this will be under your arena.
Well, I think the IIoT aspect of what's it was just what was restricted only to the manufacturing sector, right? What is now happening here is, if you go into any, I will say, manufacturing setup, because of the way the IoT or the sensor-based automation is happening now, it's getting into, we talk about in Frost & Sullivan as Industry 5.0. It's not 4.0 anymore.
Okay.
It's get on to another level now, in which where sensors are playing a major role,
mm-hmm.
and the level of automation, if you go into any factory right now,
mm-hmm.
it's getting to a point where the human-machine interface or the human machine-to-machine interaction, that is going to be the key going forward. There was some element of human-machine interface up until a point when we said in it probably Industry 3.0. 4.0 literally brought it into I would say 50-50, but I think Industry 5.0, it will just make it simply, I would say only 10% machine, also 10% human intervention. 90% is going machine to machine. Machine to machines will talk to about themselves. So if you actually followed up Google's recent announcement, they announced that they actually have created a computer, which even a supercomputer would have taken 10,000 hours. They're able to do it in 4 hours. So that's the level of computing power. Quantum computing is gone to another level where this is going to be I will say, it will even get to a very scary point that machine and machines will actually do it all themselves. So I don't want to see a day when we don't actually want to have any machines in our lives. Any humans going to be actually interacting with machines. And I think this is what I think more and more people are cautioning, saying let's not get down to the whole route of a machine-to-machine taking on us completely. Because let's face it, machines are becoming more intelligent. But there are certain things that they cannot do, emotions and all of the stuff that you can't do. I was actually in a lab in there was a lab in Dubai. They were actually teaching a robot to sing.
Are you talking about Sophia?
No.
Okay.
They actually saying, how do you actually sing?
Okay.
And the robot was actually, because of the interaction it was having with another robot, they actually were trying to sing what they were talking to talk. So if they are getting into that level of intelligence, IIoT will go into another level completely altogether.
Okay. I'm sorry, AI briefer, a little bit more briefer on AI applications.
Yeah, well, I mean, the artificial intelligence itself is not actually a new concept, by the way. I think we have been, I think again, I'm coming back to the same concept of machine-to-machine learning. The different technologies that are now getting into more advanced in terms of quantum computing. So if you look at saying, look, if there is an element of, you take Google now, right? So you have a Google Assistant, you take Alexa. But these are all already living examples of AI. So if you would have recently gone into Google and Gmail and you would have typed some, and you start to type a specific line, it's almost starting to think. Say, this is what you're actually going to say. It's actually prompting you.
Okay.
It's prompting you because it's already starting to learn what you are already typed and what you have, the general pattern in which you are interacting. Okay. So the intelligence is getting built, and more it gets, more you interact. I mean, I know some of my friends in the US, they've got Alexas in every room. All they just go and say, Alexa, just play me this. Alexa, just do this. So it's get to that point. It's become scary. But AI in industrial applications is more and more onto the point of saying, look, if you are doing some mundane jobs, you are preparing, let's say there are students who are working out saying, look, I'll become the software developer. I'll keep coding this all the time. The level of code that you write or the standard codes that you write, it's not going to be required by anymore. The machines can do it themselves.
Yes.
The more sophisticated ones is what AI cannot do.
Yes.
It'll get there some point of time.
But at the moment, that's where the
big opportunity
is. Mani, you're in chemical engineering. What's the advancements?
I will say the traditional, this goes a little bit back more to what we talked about technology. But see, if you look at the traditional value chain of the chemical industry, it derives from the upstream and the midstream business. Those products that were derived from the traditional applications or traditional chemical components, that are actually getting disrupted big time. So you need to have a plastic, for example, it's a reusable plastic. So you need to have different forms of plastic. Say, okay, now if I'm going to create some waste, can it actually become a more reusable waste, for which the chemical industry actually plays a major role in saying what kind of molecules do I put in here that will make this more sustainable for the future. So every company has got Millennium Development Goals. Every company has wanted to understand, okay, how do I make myself more environmental friendly? So the chemical markets and those heavy, I would say the initial kind of chemicals solutions that we used to develop, that's going to be become more linear, and the downstream applications or the downstream product categories will become very limited in my view.
Okay. So we are almost close to the end of the session now. But Mani, if I have your permission, just 3 questions, interesting ones, I suppose. Ms. Devapriya from KSR IET has asked this question. Sir, could you please suggest how students explore towards the future? I mean, I think how the information that you have given now, it's also opportunistic and a bit alarming as well, because it is opportunistic for people who have understood that there is an opportunity that exists. And I think the concerned faculty wants to know how a student could explore these opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually a great question in my view. When I go into any kind of discussions with students, I think the fact now there is too much knowledge out there. I think that's the biggest challenge right now. You type AI and you will probably get some billions of hits on the internet, right? So it's not about this specific area which you need to actually guide the student in saying, look, yes, the future sounds scary, but you also need to know where does this end game play. I mean, just producing mass markets is which we've been traditionally doing. It's not going to cut it anymore. I mean, that's why now we are actually with so many jobless students who are actually coming out of college not able to find jobs, because just because you had a degree doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yes.
So I think the students also need to understand that there are many resources available, and I would probably look up to the professors, their immediate mentors, to actually give them some kind of an advice to saying, look, I will say, look, you should have a monthly session in your colleges. Bring in people from the industry, not just to talk about specific areas of what do they actually see as their future requirements.
Okay. Mani, right after you start answering, there are multiple number of questions that keeps popping up here. So quickly summarize: Dr. Pardeep Kumar and Dr. K.L. Palnichami, and so I also have M. Kamaraj, Gopinath Parni, and also Mr. Devan PD from KCT College. So their questions mostly coming across the same employability for the students. So Dr. Parnisamy asks, Sir, with these emerging technologies, whether employability to engineering students increase or decrease?
Well, I think
this could be a binary question.
Yeah, this way, which way you're going to see it, right? So, the industry by themselves, they want these people with these emerging technologies. So, the traditional industries are themselves changing. So there is no need for them to actually go back to some technology which obviously students who don't actually have them. So I think this will, my 100% conviction, I can tell you, people with these skills will definitely have an increased employability.
Yeah, of course, so increased employability is set. The roadmap of skilling our students in this technology, question by Dr. Pardeep Kumar.
Well,
So do you have a
you have to
roadmap
start
on-
from, like, I mean, I don't have, I haven't have to review all the syllabus in terms of the curriculum, the course processes, but I would assume that this is a day one discussion that you need to have with any student. Is saying, hey, this is your future, this is where you're going to go. We have mapped it out. What kind of skills do you need?
Okay, in that note, Dev and PD asked a question. Still in India, most of the institutions are following traditional way of teaching approach. How it can be modernized with updated technology? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I mean, there are obviously loads of MOOC courses. This is not, it's out there. Can a student just go do a Coursera or a Udemy and come up with that skill? I think the answer is no.
Yes.
Okay. So it's going to be difficult for them by itself. So I think it's up to the faculty, it's up to the university. Say, like, how do I actually modify my teaching process, which basically imbibes a little by little, step by step. You got to bring them into this picture, saying, look, by the time you walk out, don't see yourself as a computer engineer, don't see yourself as a mechanical engineer, because those industries they're going to go into are actually getting collapsed. An automobile engineering student who would have studied an industrial combustion engine course, which had close to 1,500 parts. If you actually look at a Tesla, there are only 5 parts. There's nothing to do in mechanical engineering anymore. If everybody is going to go autonomous cars.
I'm just going to quickly ask, because you said that, what are the multidisciplinary knowledge needed for mechanical engineering to enhance that technical knowledge? Mr. Gopinath Parani has asked this question. Now, please pick it up from there. You just mentioned
exactly, right? So those, if you take any autonomous vehicle now, which we traditionally had so many different parts, they don't have it anymore because you don't need a steering wheel. There is no braking technology that you got to implement it there. It's all become sensor. So as I said to you, if you look at that earlier picture that I showed up here, this one here will give you that picture I talked about. It's by 2030 or 2040, it has to become completely autonomous. And when they say is autonomous, you don't need so many, there is no servicing concept, there is no producing many parts concept. So if you actually start to see now, so electric vehicles is already starting to make that one first step of disruption already. So why is India's autonomous automobile story coming to a grinding halt? It's like slowing down big time because there's environmental concerns in one side, right? Because we are polluting the environment, we can't sustain this. So they say, let's go to EV. Electric vehicles may be the first part they come into. That itself cut down quite a number of them. And if you go EV, you go autonomous, you go completely autonomous, I think you have finished about 50% of the industry, which actually will not be able to support this industry at all. For example, a lot of those suppliers to those OEMs will cease to exist because OEMs themselves will change. So now Ford, which actually was once upon a time was still one of the big automobile players, when they said we are going to actually stop making the traditional combustion engine vehicles, Volvo has actually said that we will not produce this in for this year. So Volvo actually is completely gone EV, and I think as a result, they don't need this many engineers anymore. So if a mechanical engineering student is actually doing this traditional stuff, thinking, okay, he's going to go into such a sector, maybe at the time that he finishes there, these companies are actually not going to be looking for these kind of skills.
Very quickly, again, a binary question. Could India possibly attract brain drain from, so what is your view about brain drain? And can we expect India to attract international talent?
Well,
very quickly.
The answer is yes and no. I think the regulations in India is very difficult. At this point of time, our patent laws are not that strict. So if somebody is to come in here and saying, look, we actually will do this in India, as opposed to doing it in a place like Singapore, I mean, you actually are far better off doing it in Singapore than in India at the moment.
Okay, I belong to private engineering college. Will government invest for innovative labs?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there's loads of schemes that MHRD is running at the moment.
Yes.
You actually could be able to tap into.
And unfortunately, I couldn't see the name of the person who asked this question, but I have some thoughts to add to this question. I could quote a couple of examples here. In Tamil Nadu, at least, there are a lot of colleges and universities who are partnered with MHRD and DST, by which they are sourcing funds. There are certain industry sectors which are flourishing and encouraging entrepreneurship ideas. I could say in agro and biotech, agriculture-based startups and biotech-based startups are getting super good fundings at the moment. There are also a lot of technology business incubators in Tamil Nadu, particularly Kongu Engineering College is doing it. I suppose Kongu Engineering College, VIT, PSG is one. We have in fact, our own business is incubated through University of Madras Technology Business Incubator. So there are a lot of and average TBI gets about a little over 1 crore and more fundings for the startups. So there is a lot of employability questions that have been raised in the forum here, and I'm telling you. To promote innovation and entrepreneurship is an excellent way to understand and to address these problems. And I suppose that answers your question there. Your opinion about where India stands in the global level, Nitin Janve.
You mean in the innovation side?
Yeah.
Well, I think the Global Innovation Index, I think India is definitely out of the top 50. Outside the top 50.
With this, I think we can end this question in Q&A now. This is Shanmuga Priya from Mohammed Sadaq Engineering College. My question is sustainability possible in chemical engineering field without influencing the growth?
Of course. Sustainability is, I mean, if you look at tech, I would recommend Shanmuga Priya to actually look at a company called Solvay.
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 Okay.
There's a CEO called Ilham Kadri.
Dr.
Ilham Kadri. And how a traditional company like Solvay is actually embracing sustainability and actually growing at a double digit is actually a stupendous story to understand. So it is possible.
It is possible.
Because they have actually understood, this is the beauty of that company, because they've understood what is circular economy. Sustainability and circular economy, all interchangeable words, is one of the same. They have actually understood how do we actually imbibe CE concepts into their production, so they've actually looked at their customers and saying, look, how does these customers sustainability models are looking like, and they adopted their model according to every customer, and that's a result why Dr. Ilham Kadri is actually now a massive success in this area. So I mean, I would say, please take a look at that company's website.
Brilliant. Mani, thank you so much. We have already hijacked about 10 minutes of their time in this, more than what we committed. So with this, we have to close the Q&A with respect to the audience time here. And with that,
thank you, Ashok. It was a lovely interacting with you, and because I loved all the questions, quite interesting questions. And I'm sure you found this useful, and thanks for the opportunity.
Mani, I'm sure I could assure you that this was an interesting and very useful session. There are a couple of faculty members who raised why not they are not able to see you while you're presenting. They did raise this question, and there are also a couple of faculty members who have requested to see if you'd be interested to come over to their college to share your knowledge on this. But we will definitely take your queries to Mani, and if he's interested, we will coordinate for this. And with that, thank you so much to the audience members who have been very patient with us. This is really an honor that we accept very humbly, because to have faculties who are teachers, and it's such an honor for us to have you all in this session. Now, just to summarize, there is one question that I have saved for the last by Mr. Dr. Pardeep Kumar again. He asked about how can we explain and how can we help him with the faculty development programs in the future. I think he has asked about one of the services we provide at Unitaya. I'm just going to stress it for just quickly explain it for just 2 minutes. So like we mentioned in the beginning of the session, Unitaya has knowledge partners from universities and industries across the world. And in the next year, we're going to be conducting a lot of such faculty development sessions. Could be in general, could be in top overview perspective, could be on a global scale, talk about mega trends, or could be technology specific or industry specific. So and this service at the moment is complementary to all the colleges in India, and we are at the moment promoting subscriptions, and we are engaging users to our adding users to our subscription community. And so at the moment, this is the first of the many sessions we are planned to conduct. Next month, we are planning a session on gamified learning. This is going to be presented by a CEO of a company called Playablo. It's an award-winning edtech firm, and their opinion is they have come up with an innovative software which kinds of gives an interactive platform between the teacher and the student, where the student this is mostly an assessment-based learning. So this session is mainly going to talk about gamified learning and assessment-based learning. And they are also willing to give you a complimentary demo of their software to test it with your colleges for about 3 months, a minimum. And the objective of the software is to increase the student outcomes, increase the pass percentage, thereby increase your college ranking in the NIRF ranking. Now, this is the next session, and we will post you to the existing members who we have on the WhatsApp group. We will keep you posted on the next webinar details and date, time, about the speaker and all the other areas. And for any information, you have my name and number already just been shared with you. My name is Ashok. My email address is ashok@unitieUP.com, and my mobile number is 9384893434. And that's it. And some of you are already asking whether we would share this recorded session to you. Of course we will. We will just you can expect this link to be dropped in your email the next couple of days. Give us some time to check the quality and correct the quality, edit the video to give it to you in a presentable manner. Any questions further related to the international partnerships and to have a partnership with Unitaya and all that, you could please drop me an email or call me right away on my number. I'm happy to answer to any questions. Right? So this is thank you so much for all your time. If you have any further questions to Mani James, please drop me an email. There are a lot of unanswered questions that we have already going to post to him. We're going to collect all that, and we're going to respond to you back with his answers. Thank you so much, and stay tuned to Unitaya for further webinars and updates and events. Thank you.